Okay, Urfreshtv Sports, we've got another one for you. This guy was a part of Kenningwell for a long time, and then he's gone off to do his own venture now, which is helping young talented footballers get into the pro game. Vision to venture. It's Mr. Francois Frenchy. How you doing, my bro?
Good, brother. I'm good, man. Busy times, but we can't complain, man. We like busy.
And I saw the other day it was like the free agent day. How was that? How was that for you? Did it work out good, or you still
free agency is busy, bro. I mean, in England alone, there's close to 1,500 free agents. So, the number is ridiculous. If you think about how many football teams you could field with 1,500 people, it's just crazy. So naturally, I've had a lot of footballers sort of message, from all different backgrounds and walks. Some wanting advice, some wanting representation. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
I can imagine. And so just so people got a bit of background about yourself, like obviously I knew a couple years ago, even more than that, you really wanted to do like the talent scouting thing. So just tell the people about your journey and what made you want to start a company like Vision to Venture and what exactly it is.
Well, with me, like most, I started out playing, and you make a lot of friends playing the game. Yeah. Whether you're at a club for a short time or a long time, you meet different people. And I've always been a people person. I love connecting with people. I love talking. I love making friends. I just like to think of myself as a friendly kind of person. So during my playing career, it wasn't really a focus as such. And then I would say, the real interest came sort of when I joined SCR from a serious standpoint. So at Sutton Common Rovers, for me it was close to home. It was local. It was a great setup. It was a great club. And for me, it was like I wanted other people to be a part of that. Yeah. So I would speak to some of my friends who happen to be good footballers. And I had I've got a good relationship with Darren, the manager down there. And I would say to him, look, I know a couple of people, and bring them training. And Darren, to be fair, would trust my word, So, and from there, it was kind of like other people would ask from other clubs when they would sort of see how connected I was with different players. Again, good people who just happen to be really good footballers. So, I've got a good relationship with Corinthian Casuals. I played there. I managed the reserve team down there with John Chinnery, good guy. I'd sent a couple of players down there. So it just kind of grew from an interest from my point in helping other people get to teams. And then, I was sort of dubbed like a non-league agent. And it would always be banter. It would always be, you're the non-league agent, help me find a team and blah, blah, blah. But I genuinely just got a buzz out of just helping players who needed a team find a team.
And so obviously this is your first year into that. So was it something that you felt that you had to step down from Kenningwell to put 100% into this?
Yeah, it was a really tough decision because I've been a part of Kenningwell for so long. In every capacity, player, captain, coach, management staff. It's a club obviously everyone knows that's close to my heart. But I knew in order to do this, it needed my full focus. It needed my full love to brainstorm. Being an agent is something that it requires a lot more time than people would think. Yeah. There's a lot of different components to it. And I knew for it to really work and for me to really get the best out of it, I had to really dedicate, everything to it. So yeah, I had to sort of stand down from Kenningwell. They're in good hands and they'll forever be in good hands, and I'll forever remain attached to the club, even if at least by name. But yeah, a lot of things I had to sacrifice to start this up.
Yeah, that's good, man. So just for the people that don't know, how does it work? Because obviously you identify talent and you try to push them onto the pro club. So say that there's someone out there that feels like he's talented. Is it a case that they can contact you and you do the required checks from your side before?
Yeah, there's different processes. It's a bit different to just being in a position. I'll always help footballers find teams just as a love and a passion. But when you get into it from an industry perspective and a company perspective, I'm trying to grow a company, you know, so there has to be monetary value involved in it. So for that to happen, there has to be a lot more checks. It's different than saying, you know, I know a good footballer and I can send him to, you know, clubs in non-league, because for the most part, you know, non-league clubs won't or can't afford, and it's not really for them to really be paying agents commissions like that. That shouldn't be their focus. They shouldn't have to worry about, oh, we like this player, but he's got an agent attached to him, you know. So there's a lot of checks I have to do, because when you're putting people into the professional game, there's a lot of checks that they do. So it's not just a case of, yep, you're good, so come along. I have to look at, you know, what's your football background? What position are you? What age are you? What are your stats like? Do you have any video content? If so, what does that look like? Do you have a transfer market profile? If you don't, where can someone look at you online? How can a club identify you online? Do you have any full game footage? So not the 3-minute highlight clip of all your best bits. You know, have you ever been filmed full game? You know, and a lot of people in the non-league at some point had someone come and film a game. And that's, you know, I'll touch on it, but that is what clubs look at. Clubs aren't really interested in your 3-minute highlight reel. They're not. They're really more interested in your full game clips. And in some cases, they're more interested in your football CV than your highlight reel. So the highlight reel is very good to have for a number of reasons, but it's not just a case of you have a good highlight reel, I send it to a club and they're like, let's sign this player. That's not how it works. There's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, so from your perspective, it must be difficult if you identify someone that you believe is good enough that doesn't have those requirements. So is it a case that you're trying to provide the relevant documentation they need in order to get pushed on? Or is it a case of the player having to like do that, take accountability and do that themselves?
Well, the first thing I had to understand and let myself know is that I can't push everyone into the professional game. Less than 1% of people in England make it into the professional game. I'm not going to be someone that just comes and spikes that, you know, up to 10% or whatever. So I have to, you know, and it's hard because you want to help everyone get to that dream, but you can't. You know, a lot of it is down to what the player has done, because if a club likes the player, I'm just there to connect the dots for the most part. And what people have got to understand is that agents aren't miracle workers. I can't just take a player and automatically get him signed. It just doesn't work like that. So if I come across a player, for example, and he doesn't tick a lot of boxes that professional clubs are going to want and going to look at, and each professional club is different, they'll have a different way of doing things, I'm more than happy to give advice on how to get closer so that I can help them, or maybe not me, someone else, or themselves, just help themselves in general. So, you know, I've got a good idea of what a lot of clubs look at now and how they scout and how they make decisions. So from an advisory point of view, look, I'm more than happy to speak to people and say, this is what clubs look for, this is what you should be doing. But a lot of people have to understand that sometimes you do have to take a couple of steps back to make that step forward. And that can be a number of different things. That could be dropping down the division. That could be staying at the level you're at for a little while longer. It could be going abroad. It could be working on your stats. You know, it could be a number of different things. It depends on the individual. So from that standpoint, I'm always happy to give advice. But there is a process that I now have to go through before I can say, I'm going to really try and push this player and market this player, because if I do it too many times and it doesn't work out, then I start to gain a reputation as someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and then I can't help anyone.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And just to like obviously talking about your experience, what you've seen, obviously you've played at quite a few semi-professional levels on a Saturday, and obviously you was heavily involved in the Sunday scene. Is there anyone particularly that maybe we don't highlight or do highlight that we might know that you are looking at from the Sunday scene that you feel that has the potential to kick on and push through maybe your agency or just get into the pro game in general?
There's a few, man, and I'll be honest. There's a list There's loads of people. We know how strong Sunday is. And it's about getting other people to realize how strong it is. Because when you look at Sunday and you look at, you know, a lot of the clubs, you know, I'll biasly talk about OBDSFL because that's the league that, you know, Kenmore are in, and that's the league that I know the best from a Sunday perspective. But when you look at, you know, you can go through all of the teams and pick out, and I'm not just talking about Kenwell or Dons or Port, I'm talking about every team. You can probably go to every team and pick out someone with an academy background or a former professional background. You know, it's that sort of strong. And funny, you know, I'll drop his name out there. Steve Townsend is one that you guys just sort of found out about, who has been putting up crazy numbers for the last couple of years. Josh Patrick not in anymore, but he was another one who was putting up crazy numbers. Like, these guys are scoring 50 goals a season normally, and I don't care if it's a Saturday or if it's a Sunday. You can only score against you can only score against what's in front of you. And in the combined counties a couple of years ago, that's what Ashley Naisden done, and that's how he got his professional move. He was playing for Hawley. Ashley Naisden scored 99 goals in 2 seasons at combined counties and had 7 different professional teams scouting. You know, he was on trial at, you know, Millwall. He had Norwich watching him. You know, he ended up at Fleetwood, and he's professional football now. And that's from combined counties. That's where I was last playing. That's where a lot of people were playing. So there's a lot of people in the Sunday setup. I've had, you know, words with a couple of people already, but it is about me as well from a non-biased perspective, going out to Sunday game. The reason why I had to sort of step down from Kenmore, I have to, as a talent, identify our teams, go to different leagues, go to places, not just London. I've got to go all over now and look for talent. You know, I can't wait for talent to fall on my lap. I've got to go out and look, and that's what a part of the job is. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of guys on Sunday that I'll be speaking to, and Saturday, and just initial conversations. You know, what are your aspirations? Are you still wanting to go pro? Are you wanting to experience a higher level here or abroad, or, you know, whatever that may be from an individual perspective.
So, like, is there I want to talk about age, because I know that was one of the things that you look at. So what would you say your age cap is? At what age do you start thinking, okay, you're good, but it's not young enough?
Generally, when you hit 26, 27, the question gets asked in terms of, do we want to sign a player above that or in and around that age? Because then they're looking, and the expectation is so much higher. The expectation is higher at a lower age, but there's an understanding that there's only so much you can do in your early years. But, you know, there are clubs who will say have to be under 23. Then there are other clubs that will say have to be under 27. For me, I primarily look at 17 to 23. That doesn't mean I won't go above and beyond. It doesn't mean that, but that is my primary age, because that is the age group that I feel most connected with, and it's the age group that I feel is most in demand. So look, you're going to get people above that age group that are still got the potential. You know, Ian Wright was 26 when he, you know, if I'm not mistaken, when he sort of hit the big stage. So, you know, it's not to say that people can't make it, you know, above that age. But the level of expectation is certainly higher, and the demand for people is a lot lower. You know, once you sort of hit 26 and above, there's a lot less demand.
Yeah, definitely. What advice? Just to give you a bit of background, obviously I spoke to a couple of managers, obviously prior to this interview, and there was like a little bit of a debate. So obviously we're speaking about Ashley, who obviously scored loads of goals for Hawley, which obviously made noise, and then people came to watch him, and he ended up getting a move to a professional club. Congratulations to him. What advice would you give to people that maybe don't play in those positions, because goals are always going to make noise? So what if you're a centre midfielder, right back, centre back, goalkeeper? What advice would you give to those type of players that want to make noise? They believe they're good enough, but they're just maybe not getting the light shone on them as much as attackers. Like what advice would you give those type of players?
I'd say keep a record of your progression, document it. You have to document it. So If you're a defender, how many clean sheets are you keeping?
Yeah.
How many clean sheets? You know, if you go and I've got loads of friends who are defenders. You know, that was a position I played for a long time. You know, you think of a defender right now, go ask him, in your last 10 games, how many clean sheets did you keep? If you don't know it like that, that's a problem.
Okay.
Because a striker, you ask a striker, how many goals did you score last season? 25, 26, 14, 13. A goalkeeper will always keep a record of that. But a centre-back is a big part of keeping clean sheets, because you might have games where you're ensuring they don't have shots on target, or they don't have shots at all. So keep a record of your stats in terms of assists, clean sheets, progression in terms of, I used to run a 5K at this time and now I run at this. Document your progress, keep a record of it. So that way you've got USPs. You can say, well, 2 seasons ago, I was performing at, I would say, a sort of average level where I was making sort of this amount of tackles a game, or I had this amount of clean sheets or this amount of losses. The following season, I worked hard, you know, during the off season, and now I've brought that number to this, you know, that, and this. Clubs will start to say, okay, this is someone who takes his craft seriously, because, you know, just like a CV, you would put your USPs in your CV. I've made this company this amount of million in this amount of time, and we grew by this %. Do the same. You have to, if you want to be serious, this is what you've got to do, because when you get to professional clubs, they will track that. They will have analysts who will track that, who will track your percentages, your pass percentages, your key percentages, and they will have an expected percentage of what they, you know, think and believe that you should be doing. So if you're not a striker, if you're a defender, if you're a midfielder, you know, if you've got access to watch your games, look at how many times you dribbled past someone. Make a note of that. All these things are going to help you. They're unique selling points, you know, and if you know that, you're going to stand out from someone who just says, I'm a pacey winger, you know, with skills. You can now back that up and say, I'm a pacey winger who, on average, had 3 successful take-ons each half. And you know, these things are going to help. And it might seem long-winded, but it's going to make you stand out.
Yeah, that's really good advice, to be honest. That's very good advice. Just to touch and maybe just end up on your agency. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you? Where can they find you? Is it email, Instagram?
Yeah, there's socials. The email is info@visiontoventure.co.uk, and it's the number 2. I'm on the socials, Instagram, Vision to Venture Sports, Twitter, Vision to Venture. So look, you know, get at me on any of them. If you just want advice, if you want representation, there's a lot of people asking for representation and help right now because of the free agency. But like I said, I'm not adverse to talking to people. Even if I can't help you, I know a lot of football agents in the game. So it may not be that I can help you, but someone else can help you. And different agencies will have strengths in different areas. Some will be better at spotting talent. Some will be more connected to clubs. Some will be more connected to players. Some will have more connections to different leagues, whether it be in England or abroad. So, you know, do your research. I tell people all the time that reach out to me, I shouldn't be the only one you're having a conversation with. Speak to 4 or 5 different agents. Get a feel for them. See how you like them. LinkedIn is a big place where there's a lot of football agents. There's a lot of football clubs. There's a lot of footballers. It is a bit of a jungle on LinkedIn. So there's a lot you have to navigate through to separate sort of cowboys from people who are serious. But, you know, if anyone's wanting more advice, you know, hit up any of the socials or hit up the email, and I'm here. I'm here to talk.
Again, that's very, very good advice. And just to end it off, with the pandemic and a lot of clubs being hit financially, do you think a lot of these professional teams are going to be forced to look lower down in the divisions to pick those diamonds in the rough? And this is the time for those that have been screaming and shouting that they're good enough but not getting an opportunity to really stand up and be counted.
Absolutely. This is going to be the perfect time for a young footballer or anyone aspiring to really show their worth, because of the pandemic, finances of a lot of clubs. I mean, Wigan Athletic have gone into administration, as most people have seen. This is giving you an idea of how it has financial ramifications. So a lot of football clubs are going to look younger, I believe. They have to balance it because they're still going to want experienced players, because they're going to want to make sure they survive or get promoted for financial stability. But definitely, I think young players are going to have a better looking than they have done in recent years. So if you're a young player right now, work hard during this time on your individual stuff. There's not a rush. And that's another thing you have to understand. You know, right now might not be the time for you to go pro. It might be next season. But you have to have that mentality that every season has to be the mentality that this could be my last season to make it. Mm-hmm. You have to work harder than you worked last season. You have to do better than what you've been doing in previous seasons. If last season you was recording 5Ks at a certain number, do better this season. Waking up at 8 o'clock, wake up at 7 o'clock. If you was doing ball drills for an hour, do it for an hour and a half. Like, you really have to understand you are competing against free agents that have come out of championship level, League One level, international level. So, you know, you have to really, really put in this graft. But I truly believe there is going to be opportunities for young players. You know, I've just sent a young player over to Cyprus, who's going to be starting out a journey there. You know, he was in academies. He was in the Everton Academy, a scholar at Everton. He was also on a professional contract at Bolton, won the under-23s league with Bolton, contract terminated, and ended up playing non-league football for a year. He came down, and a lot of people get released and don't know what to do. Yeah. And there's a big disconnect with players that get released to try and go back up. He wasn't at a stage where he was a Billy Big Boots and was like, I'm too big to come down a level. You know, he came back down to non-league football, and now he's gone back into full-time professional football. So sometimes you do have to take the step back and you just work hard, and he worked hard, and now he's back to where he can be. And that's what people have to look at. You know, you will get noticed if you're consistent, if your work ethic is true and you're honest. Use social media to your advantage. Use it. If your name's popping up every week, go, save. Good tackle. You know, there's platforms like Urfreshtv who will capture it, who will give you, you know, the stage. There's podcasts, Self are doing podcasts. There's loads, management stuff. There's loads of people out there who are now trying to help you capture this. Make sure you're in a position to be captured. You know, if you're making noise, someone's going to see it and people will take note. So it is about working hard. It is about belief. I would advise everyone in the sports industry to go and watch the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and go and look at what work ethic is. And when you watch that, if that doesn't stir up something to make you feel that I need to really have that competitive hunger and outwork someone and just be the best, I don't know what will, because there are opportunities and there will be opportunities. You have to grab it. You know, I can't help everyone. Sometimes you have to help yourself. So, you know, if you're a young player, be excited, because football clubs will be looking 100%.
Again, like very, very knowledgeable words, man. Obviously, that kind of rounds up your new venture. And again, from Urfreshtv Sport, we wish you nothing but the best.
Appreciate it, man.
Obviously, you do know we highlight Sunday League massively as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to delve into that right now and then just get your opinion, because there was a debate on the TL today. You might have saw it, maybe not. And people were talking about, you know, other leagues maybe not getting the recognition that they deserve. And OBDSFL obviously is getting a big recognition as one of the best Sunday leagues about right now, which I agree with. How do teams, question number one, how do leagues justify how good their league is? Do you know what I mean? What's the measuring stick?
You look at a number of different factors. The teams in your leagues, how many of them are winning county cups? Are they winning the FA Cup? Are they winning the London Cup, the Surrey Cup, whatever cup it is? How long have these teams been going for? What's their history like? Do you have teams in there with long-standing histories of being in these cups and doing well in these cups? How are your clubs run? You know, how well run are your football clubs? There's a lot of sponsors now looking at Sunday League football clubs. There's a lot of people branding, into Sunday League football clubs. Who are you attracting? The players are always going to be at the forefront. What kind of players? What kind of background have they got? One of the reasons why the Orpington and Bromley there's a lot of light on it is because you've got former professionals, former international players. It's been like that for years. When I first came into the league, I've played, in the Kenilworth side, I've played with 3 international footballers that played Sunday League for Kenilworth. So naturally that will make noise, that people will be like, well, what is it about this club that international, footballers are coming to? So, with the other leagues, I would say as well, be user friendly, reach out, say, hey, come and cover this game. This is why you should cover this game, because this team's got a long history of this, that, and whatever. There has to be, you have to put in the work. With Orpington and Bromley, we it's a blessed league to have some great clubs with great history. It's got a good social media presence. They're quite good on the Twitter and those sorts of spaces, and naturally I can see why other leagues will feel a little bit aggrieved and but they've got to use that and turn that into a reason. You've got to say, okay, let's show these boys when we meet other leagues, teams in cups, beat them and beat them significantly. Look at Highgate made a lot of noise because of the way of the game that happened with Kenilworth.
Yeah, true.
I hadn't heard of Highgate before we played them, and since that game, after they, their recognition had shot up loads. Look at the teams that beat SE Dons. Automatically now, people are talking about them. Whether you've been in the name, the tongues of people's mouths for a long time or not, Blendon had a lot of talk about them after that. So did the team that beat Dons in the Kent Cup. Anytime you do that, you're going to make a buzz and you're going to attract people to you. The same way Portland had their run in the Nationals and were beating big teams, Portland had a run. Same with Lambeth beating big teams. This is how you get people attracted to you. You have to make statements against big teams, but you have to do it consistently as well. So, look, there's going to be shine. The leagues have got to understand that, Urfreshtv is in its infancy as well. You've only got so many legs that you can cover, and this is why sponsors, if you're watching, get at the guys. Buy more cameras, help them grow. They'll go out and expand. People should do that. That there are sponsors out there. Help the teams grow. Help the people like Urfreshtv and the other podcasts grow, and you will see a return on it 100%.
Yeah, again, man. I'm going to ask you 3 more questions. Obviously, feel free to go in depth or not so in depth. I'm going to start with, what would you say the 2 major cups, if you was running at Kenilworth, what were the 2 main cups you'll be focused on in terms of impact that you feel would, it's not, apart from the league, just cups, what other teams involved in? What would you say the 2 big cups you say, okay, if we win these 2, we can be crowned like as definitely one of the best teams in
London Cup and the FA Cup. Those are the 2 biggest in Sunday football, in my opinion. I don't think there's any 2 bigger cups. I feel like your London Cup is sort of like your Champions League, and your FA Cup, you can call it your sort of World Cup equivalent in terms of playing people from all different sort of spectrums of the country. But those 2 will make the most noise, 100%. I think London Cup is just, I think the London Cup is more competitive than the FA Cup, personally. In my opinion. I'm not saying it's a bigger cup, but I feel that the level of competition, I actually feel is higher in that. But the FA Cup, you never know what you're going to get. With the London Cup, you're probably more likely to play a team that you know. FA Cup is a completely different thing because you play up team from up north, down south, west, from country, and you don't know what you're going to get. So it's a bit of a bigger surprise. So those 2 cups for me, the biggest without question.
Okay, and I'm gonna dive into the OVDSFL because I know it's a league you know very well. Obviously, best. This season looks like it's gonna be the most competitive it's ever been. Obviously, this is what I'm hearing. You've got better knowledge on the history, but that's what it's looking like to me. If you had to pick a favourite for that league title, obviously there's going to be transfers and different changes that happen before the the beginning of the season. But right now, if you had to pick like a favourite for that league, who would you go with?
Kenilworth.
Loyalty.
Kenilworth.
Why? Is that loyalty, or is that literally because you know what they're doing for this year?
I feel like because I know what the plans are, and because it will always look biased, but Kenilworth are always going to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
Regardless, they were always in it before I came. They'll always be in it after I'm gone. I put everything on that. We'll always attract big players. Players will come and go. That's part of football. When you look at this season and how this season was shaping up, we were in a really good position.
Yeah.
Things. We were, in terms of the league. We felt that we were starting to kick into stride. We were really starting to fancy ourselves, and I think that will always be the case with Kenilworth. I always feel that Kenilworth will only lose because of Kenilworth.
Yeah, no, I respect that. And I'm gonna go on.
No, I think just as most teams will say, if they turn up and they're about it, I think they beat any and everyone. That's it.
Yeah, fair play. And I'm gonna end it on this question because there's been a lot of talk on the TL. I'm gonna give you 5 leagues, and I just want you to rank them. From what you believe, the most quality to the least. And all these leagues have got quality, by the way. I'm not trying to say any of them have no quality, but just from your opinion, your experience. So we're going to go with, obviously, OBDSFL, Westphal, Croydon, Met, and Southern Sunday. So you've got 5 leagues there. If you had to rank them from best to worst, so to speak, what would your ranking be?
Orpington will be at the top. Croydon would be second.
Ooh.
Yep, Croydon would be second. I'm torn with Met and Westphal. I'm really torn with that one. I actually think Westphal has a less gap divide than Met.
Okay. In terms of guys that will go for
I think Met has maybe stronger teams, but I think the gap in strength is much bigger. So I would go Westphal for balance.
Yeah.
Then I'd go Met. Then I'd go Southern.
Yeah, I love that, man. Appreciate all the time, French. And obviously, from us at Urfreshtv Sports, we definitely wish you all the best of luck.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate that. Here, you got my number. Thanks for taking time out, my bro. I'm gonna cut this up. It'll be on there before you know it. I'll at you. I'll probably talk to you on the WhatsApp before that. But enjoy the rest of your day, man.
No problem. And you, my brother, always love. Big up Urfreshtv all the time, man.
I know, my cuz. Easy.
Love, bro.